Welcome to the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Marian, embodied leadership coach, holistic wellness consultant, and TEDx speaker. I'm on a mission to empower individuals and organizations to thrive from the inside out. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Marian. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. I'm really excited because before we hit record, we were already on one talking about a lot of stuff. So I have Anna Tsui on the podcast today, and I actually just reached out to her. I love her TikToks, and there was really one in particular. Maybe this is the one that got taken down, like about the goddess, that really was like, reach out to her, have her on the podcast. And here we are. So before we, start riffing again and going down the rabbit hole, can you introduce yourself, share a little bit about your work, I know that's like a big question, but whatever you want to share.
Yes, thank you, for having me on. And for those of you who can't see this, Marian is such like a feast for the eyes and for the senses. I'm just looking at her, like soaking in her beauty. And she has I'm just getting chills. Like she has goddess energy just oozing out of her. And so I'm wondering, like, oh my gosh, what do you get your nails done? Your lipstick is beautiful. All of the tattoos, the hair. I mean, it's just like, I'm just living in this magical energy that is you. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you. I receive.
Yay. Oh yeah. So about Anna. Anna is an older millennial. And I've been spiritual my whole life. Yay, older millennial. And I felt like I've had many different lifetimes. So I've been a serial entrepreneur internationally. I did startups in Beijing and Italy and of course in the US. And I've been basically coaching for over 10 years now. I started out as an energy healer and then worked my way into the business of coaching and then doing business coaching. And now I'm working with people identifying their unique genius and how to bring their authentic selves into their business. But really, and I think that's why I'm so excited about connecting, is I'm really sensing now more than ever the importance of masculine and feminine energy and masculine and feminine dynamics and how it's so important to use that to heal the world. Because the truth is, if we heal the feminine, masculine dynamics within us, we would treat other people so much better, I guess is the right term, but it would help bring out their balance. And if anything, we have lived in centuries of a really toxic masculine imbalance, right? Where the feminine has not just been ignored, but actively oppressed and experienced immense amounts of violence. And that feminine energy is within everyone, right? It's not just within women, but definitely women get the brunt of it. And now, there's so much talk about, oh, the divine feminine is rising and all of this stuff. And it's like, I don't think many people know how to embody this divine feminine energy. And that's kind of the struggle that I see us going through right now, this like growing pains, if you will.
Yeah.
But I see it so clearly, like when we do embody that and allow her in, it really has a ripple effect of balancing out kind of like these toxic guys in our world, right? And these toxic structures. We need that feminine energy. That's what I'm passionate about right now. That's why I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's what drew me to you, when I was scrolling and thinking about who to invite to launch. Actually, I already had all the speakers, the guests for this podcast, and then one canceled. And I was like, okay, because I wanted to have 13 episodes, the number of the goddess.
Nice.
So, and then I saw yours. I'm like, all right, I hear you, goddess. Like, okay, let me
share out of the way.
yeah, let me just DM her. So yeah, let's dive a little bit more into that because one, you've been doing this and like it's all about cycles. And the word that came to me was like the evolution of your business is really just the evolution of you, right? And
Absolutely.
I see that within myself too and a lot of other people. And I think there's people who are still holding on like, well, I can't, especially if they have a successful business but they don't feel congruent anymore. But like, oh, I've held on to this and this identity and they're afraid to change. But what's actually on the other side of that is even more, but they don't want to let go of that. And I think that ties into the feminine about like, it doesn't have to be just one way. You can live several lifetimes. You can change direction at any time if you really feel called to it. If it's not serving your soul anymore. So what do you see with your like the biggest struggles and how does that show up with the people that you work with and what you observe with this like resistance?
Yeah, and I think that's a brilliant point that you said where like it's almost like the more successful you are, but you're not aligned and you know it, you feel it. The thing is like you will become a different person if you stay in that business and it's not
Mhm,
going to be for your greatest and highest good. I mean, everything is for your greatest and highest good, but there's like more of your self-expression. There's an actual more easeful way of doing things that you're not allowing in. And what
mhm,
happens is like sometimes we hook into the matrix unconsciously
mhm,
and we hook even if like we are a person of high integrity and we're spiritual and we might be even doing something that is in alignment with us, but when we begin to sacrifice like parts of ourselves, like maybe we sacrifice more time than we want, that we could be spending with our family and we're doing that in your business, or maybe I know some in the coaching world it hasn't been a great time for coaches, and so I know a few coaches who ended up paying like six figures to work with these basically these bro marketers that are like, we can help you. We can drive traffic to your funnel, all this stuff. And she ended up like doing well, but she ended up actually hating her business. And I've heard this
mhm.
more often than not. If we're going through any internal period, or maybe it's like a physical period where we're like, I'm not getting the clients that I used to, or where it's an internal struggle of like, I'm giving way too much, I'm going to approach burnout. We need to pay attention to that because it's really a calling and an opening for us to truly connect to a higher power, even though we
Mhm.
thought maybe we were already connected. But at some point, that connection, we sacrifice a little bit of it because, like you said, we have to like hustle and all of these thought systems come in and, like our wounding comes in. And so, if you're getting any bit of resistance that you're feeling, I actually don't think this is a time for us to necessarily push through it. I
Mhm.
think it's a time for us to really sit back and reflect, and that's exactly what I'm doing in my business, despite the fact that my stress reaction is fight, which means like go in more, do
Yeah.
more, all of these things.
Mhm.
Probably not a good time to do that because source is showing you, your higher self is showing you, the goddess is showing you that there are structures that are not solid yet. And because we're in the fire era in Chinese feng shui, this element is fire. Fire will burn down anything that isn't truly stable, that isn't
Mhm.
authentic. And so we might be in a little period where you have to burn some things down. Maybe not destroy your whole business, but maybe burn down the mindsets that are causing you friction. Maybe burn down some of the structures that you have in your business that aren't offerings that you want anymore. And we need to be really honest because the more that we push through, and that's like kind of more masculine energy is you push through and then
Mhm.
you get the thing, but you might be pushing through on something that's not aligned with you, in which case then a bigger fire is going to happen. And then you're going to be very sad because that's even more traumatic.
Yeah. I resonate with that so much, and I think what a lot of people, like, hold on to it is because at one point it was aligned, right?
Yeah.
Like, when
Yeah.
I think of my business before, in corporate, I did marketing and business development, so when I did coaching, that's how I started. I started actually as a marketing business coach and, like,
Nice.
speaking and all that stuff, and at that point, it was aligned, right? But then the more I also was diving deeper into my spiritual work and all that, like it started becoming like there was more. But I'm like, oh, I'm making six figures in this. Like I am helping people, like I was, and I'm like, I'm still, but like it started really like I started feeling contraction. I started getting burnt out by like my 6-month programs. I'm like, but why? This used to like give me so much life. And I think the message there for me was like, even though it served you before, where you want to go next, you need something else. And a big philosophy that I have now that it just started making really good sense is that your body will always tell you.
Mm.
And it'll show up through sickness, through states of, like, depression, like, whatever it is, your body will tell you, and that's what happened with me. Like, I was really, like, pushing it, and my body started with my ex-husband, we were doing fertility rounds, and the 2 rounds I did, like, wrecked me, right? But then a whole bunch of other things came up, and I think everything's related, right? Like, and I just kept trying to push it and push it. I mean, eventually we got divorced because that wasn't in alignment, but my body was telling me before that. And I think it was
Yeah.
also related to because I was pushing it in my business,
Yeah.
I
And
was
that's what
making.
we're taught too. We're taught
Yeah.
if you really want to succeed, you really have to work harder than everybody else.
Mhm. And
Mhm.
I think it's like, especially for women, and this is our path, like our calling to be more like feminine led businesses and really go towards this energy, we have to embrace that the change and surrender. And it's not easy. Like
Yeah.
it's it's so not easy because so many things. I remember my ex-husband was like, "Why are you stopping? It's literally doing so well." But something in me was just like, "Ah, I can't." And then my body forced me because I could
Yes.
not. Like
Yes.
I couldn't. So I think that's showing up, it's manifesting with a lot of people with burnout. I had a client that got hospitalized for, adrenal fatigue and burnout, all these things that we're taught that we just got to keep pushing through because money is good and you're getting all these accolades. Your body will tell you.
Yeah, and I think everyone's experiencing that to a certain level, but some people, like you and I and your listeners are way more tapped in, and you gotta take it seriously. You really do. Because like here's the thing, if you don't so there's a new way of operating,
Mhm.
right? That has been kind of speaking to us. And for the people who do take it seriously, it's gonna feel slow. So I've been getting the inclination to really pull off. I have a few friends who've taken like, a few months for a sabbatical, like just save up what you can and then just like unplug. And we're like, no, you're crazy. You can't. This is a really good time. You should
Yeah.
be getting clients. People need coaching in the beginning of the year. And little do we know that like we would just get more and more burnt out. And then here is, our friend over here who's like, oh, I'm fresh. I'm back from my sabbatical. And that's kind of the vibe is like, it feels like you're slowing down because things that were working well, you're like, oh, I feel like I'm pulling away and I had to rest now. But actually, you're doing that so that you can ride the wave and success will come to you in a whole different, more aligned way where because you're a different person, because you did listen to yourself and you did take some of that time off, or at least eased off a little bit, right? And spend more time
Mhm.
on your self care. Because you took that time, you're able to actually go further and faster and do more quantum stuff,
Yep.
right? In this new energy than people who are still tapped into this old paradigm of like really pushing and real. And if people have a lot of masculine energy, that actually can work well for them. So like the dudes who are very masculine, they can actually push way more and the
Mhm.
women who have more masculine energy, like they can actually push way more. But women in general and women especially with feminine energy dominance, we are not meant to be the pushers. Like they're
Yeah.
meant to push for us. We're meant to be the guiders and the receivers and the amplifiers. And so I feel like the goddess is like not training us, but telling us like, hey, this is how you're meant to operate. So it's actually much easier for you if you allow it to happen. But most of us are like, no, I need to keep, I need to keep going. And yeah, I don't think most women have our adrenals anymore, at this point.
Yeah, and that's so interesting you say that because that's exactly what happened with me. Like, I was like, the goddess forced me, and I may be stubborn because we talked about this before. My spiritual awakening was an OD and a near-death experience. Like, I had to die for me to, like, wake up. I don't recommend that for everyone, but in hindsight, literally for years, the goddess was like, "This is not the right path. This is not the right path." And I just pushed through it and then it led to that. And same thing here. I realized I repeated that cycle and I thought it was good because I was already on my spiritual path and having a
Yeah.
conscious business, but like she will humble you.
Yeah, that's
And
actually a really good point because you're gonna think, I did it. I was like, oh, I'm not operating from my ego anymore, which is such an egoic thing to say. Oh, I'm operating from my heart. And then like as I go, I was like, wow, that was just me trying. And it takes time and it takes a few iterations. So even if you think, no, I got it now,
uh-huh.
you're probably still on the path. It's okay.
Yeah. And it took a lot from me. So I went through like literally body shut down, went through a divorce, and I was like, all right, I hear you. Okay. So I gave myself some time, I backed away from the business. And through that time, it's been 2 years, like really doing a lot of somatic practices, actually getting more certifications to like really for me, just to like help me. And it really like if I'm going to teach it, I also wanna go through it type thing. So, yeah, I ended up meeting very magically too, my divine union partner, who is so amazing, and last year, because I was going through the certification, really going through a lot of, like, triggers, emotions, huge life transitions, I had to fully surrender, and because of his he financially provides. Like, and I had never fully had that in my life because I had to like take care of myself for so long. I was able to just really focus on me and through that, like late last year, everything started clicking. When I first was like, goddess put me down and like was like, no, I resisted it so much. I'm like, how am I gonna make money? How am I gonna like all these things, right? And then I finally like let go, let allowed someone to fully take care of me. And seriously, like the downloads from like the rebrand to the podcast relaunching to like getting my creative flow again has been a
Yeah.
quantum leap.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, all right, I trust you. Sorry I doubted you, but I like resisted it.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point because abundance, so, as women who have had to like fight for themselves and fight for their own survival, and I'll probably also take care of other people. Like we
Mhm.
are in that mode where we got it. Okay, we can make things happen. But if you really allow yourself to sit in that feminine energy, abundance comes from all different ways, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's through your partner.
Yeah.
And so, we're kind of socialized like, oh, that's like not good for some reason, or it means that we're not doing enough. Well, actually, it means that our energy is amazing and
Mhm.
we attract abundance. And here's someone who's happy to provide and give to
Yep.
us. And if
Yeah.
we didn't receive it, that would be just like a whole nother mess. It's just you're refusing love that's being given to you in all these ways. And so to really open up to feminine energy is to really open up to receiving abundance. And I think it's so humbling because after I had my kid who's only 2 years old, like I couldn't be in my business the same way. My brain completely changed, and so
Mhm.
I couldn't bring in the income that I was bringing in before. And I was like, oh, I have a husband. I totally forgot about that. Oh, he can take care of stuff. And he's like, yeah, I can do this. Why don't you just chill out for a minute? Because I don't want to see you going crazy and burning out and all these things too. And
Mhm.
that's like, I think being in true feminine energy is being able to realize that you have resources around you that if you just allow, they
Yeah.
will come to you. And it's a different way
Mhm.
of being. And it feels so much more natural. It feels so much more balanced.
Mhm.
And like you, I was fighting this before. It was actually just very recently with the help of a couples therapist that I was like, oh yeah, this is me resisting.
Mhm. And now I really fully believe, especially as women in the path, as healers, who are meant to like do this type of work in the world, we need to have that. Now I
Yeah.
feel that like because I don't financially need it, right? Like what I'm doing is fully of serve. Yes, like I am charging, I have money coming in, but like it doesn't come from a sense of because I need this to survive for myself. It's
Hmm.
such a shift in energy. And I really
Yeah.
believe that like women who, are healers, like we do this work, that the basic, like, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs or, like, the root chakra, like, that can be taken care of if we just let go so that we can just be in our, like, transmission, and it'll fall into place. I know it seems counterintuitive, right? Like, from what we're taught,
Yeah.
that's been my experience, like, we need that.
I would love to know from you, what have you noticed has been the difference when you're creating from not a place of, okay, well, I need to, hit this amount of money for my launch and to pay my bills and all of this stuff, right? But now it's actually creating from like a different place. What does that feel like? What's that like?
The first thing that comes to mind is, like, it feels like pussy power. Like, literally pussy power, because it comes from this, like, juicier place, and this is really, like, owning it, right? Like, one, our sacral is the root of, like, money, abundance, and also creativity. So it just comes from this, like, juicier place that
Versus the
is
hen.
abundant. Yeah, it's, like, so much more embodied, like, I feel it more in my body than, like, okay, I have to do 10 posts and with you have to have 20 impressions before someone clicks and like all that kind of stuff that we're taught. And I
Yeah.
taught this too, as a marketer
Yes.
before,
Yes.
right?
Old
Like
paradigm.
data, all this stuff, and it works until it doesn't. And it works for
Yes.
some still. But I think if you're in this line of work, like quantum leaping, energetics, magic, ride that because that's what actually works for us.
Yeah, because what's the metrics on pussy power? Like what is you can't
Yeah,
it's just
and
right.
I have, like, practices where I, like, do a lot of, like, womb healing and, like, does it feel good in my body to, like, create this? Instead of, like, is this something it just feels like from me instead of, is this something my clients would want? I'm like, "No, this is something I just wanna birth into the world," and it's so different. It's just it's juicier. I don't know, I'm very visual, I'm clairvoyant, so, like, I think of, like, a juicy peach, like, fruit, like, honey, like, that's what it feels like.
So the energy, like, truly gives, versus, like, we if it's, like, reverse engineering, it's like, "Okay, so what's the fair exchange?" And, all of this stuff, but this is, like, it's something that's, like, it's art, it's healing, it's from source, it's you can't really put a price on it, and it's magical. It's something that, like, most people haven't really experienced unless you see a beautiful sunset or something. Like, what's the price of that, You're just like, "This is
Yeah.
life-changing." Yeah. And so I
Yeah.
think that's the journey is like finding that peace. It feels like this like really dark, fertile place from within where then,
Mhm.
you meet with source and that's always connected to your people. And then you bring something that's so healing and so relevant to the world right now. And I think people can tell the difference. It is very much a difference because it's
Mhm.
very different from how other people speak to them. It's very different from how things are packaged or whatever it is. It's an aliveness that I think people need right now because before we got on, we are talking about what the surviving, what the definition of that is, and that's just existing. And I was like, wait, that's most people just existing,
Yeah.
just floating
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
And, for so long I was in that, and life happens. It's a mindset, it's a consciousness, and life can happen. We're like, we can default back to that, but it's up to us with our practices to be like, no, there's a different way of seeing this. And that's thriving, which is flourishing despite adversity, like seeing the options. And I love how you said before, like it's really rebalancing this masculine and feminine energy because victim consciousness is wounded feminine energy. It's like, "Oh, I can't do anything. Everything happens to me." Survivor is wounded masculine energy. Like, "I gotta do this. It's you or me. I gotta do this to survive." But thriver consciousness is a beautiful healed balance of the 2, and it's like this beautiful magic, and when you need to, like, step into, like, there's things like you take a line action. This is coming through me. I need to, like, create because it's flowing. Alright, this is my time to stop. I'm reaching that point of, like, okay, tapping, out, and you recognize that. You recognize the balance and the dance.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of healing really happens in our real life relationships, right?
Mhm,
So if you have a partner, it actually doesn't matter what gender they're in. There's a chance that someone's more in their masculine and someone's more in their feminine. And
mhm,
so, like, and I know for me, I'll just speak personally, me really doing the healing work around my feminine energy has allowed my husband, who's like a very masculine energy, to also heal and like
yeah,
be able to feel safe in a warm feminine energy versus like when I was trying to masculine him, that's not fun. And so like
mhm,
we will find this balance in our own relationships as well as we find this balance within. And I think the most important thing for especially if you're a woman who's predominantly feminine energy, which means that we'll probably like give everything away for free if we could. Like literally take my offering, take my food, take my whatever. If you have that natural nurturing creative tendency,
mhm,
masculine dominant women tend to be a little bit more competitive. Yeah,
mhm,
definitely more of the type, right? But I think this is a really strong calling for specifically feminine energy dominant women to come back and really be in that thriver space because we've been
mhm,
surviving because we're picked on by the world. We're literally like giving away everything to the world and people want more from us without
mhm.
necessarily like respecting us or respecting our boundaries or giving back. That's happened for a long time. So it's up to us to really be the strongest version of ourselves so that we can restore balance,
Yeah.
and like saying no and also saying yes to receiving is a great way of doing that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of women out there who think they are also masculine dominant because they have, and this was me for so long, right? Like I wore the badge of surviving. Like I survived like childhood trauma, I survived addiction. Like I wore it as a badge of honor. Like I am just more this is just me. And it wasn't until I really like dug deep, like looked in the mirror, like this is all me, right? Like you can't what's outside as a reflection, started doing even deeper work that I was like, "Wait, these masculine tendencies was really like me, like it was
Mm,
an armor, right? Because
yeah.
it helped me survive all the stuff there, like, but in order to reach the next level, I need to drop that armor."
Yeah.
Yeah. and this like reclamation of I actually really am more feminine, like, that allowed me to attract my partner now, and it just balances each other well.
That's so cool. What was that? I don't know if we want to talk about this, but I'm really fascinated what that conversation was like for you from someone who's experienced similar things where you allowed your partner to provide for you. And did you have to ask? Did he offer? What was that conversation like?
Well, this partner, like, I had already been working on that, so when we started, like, dating, when we met, I shared with him, "This is what I believe. This is actually what serves me." And it complimented him because for him, that's also what he desired, right? But if I didn't do that work, we would have not, like, energetically complemented each other.
Mm,
Because with my ex-husband, I was definitely more masculine and, like, I competed a lot with him, and at that time, he definitely had more feminine because that's the energy that I was in, and that's what I attracted.
yeah.
So, it's still a practice. There's times where I feel my, like, "Oh, like, I could do" "I don't need you, I could do this," and I remind myself, like, "Wait, what?" Like, so this is a practice, and you're right, like, in relationships, there's a lot of healing we can do on our own, but there's so much more we can do in the dynamics of a relationship, and this has really further, like, deepened that practice, receiving, and I think a big mindset shift for me was that it makes him happy. I think in this dynamic of, like, masculine, feminine polarity, in those relationships, men love it. He loves to take care it gives him happiness, like, why would I take that away from someone that I love, right? We're
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, we don't wanna be a burden," or, "I don't wanna ask too much," but literally, like, he in that dynamic, it's reciprocal, like, I support him in so many ways, and he does like, we feed onto each other, and so, for him, it gives him a sense of pride to provide. Like, it gives him a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 'cause that's what the masculine needs. The masculine really doesn't have a sense of purpose. It's just like ejecting energy into the world and it just wants to conquer or compete or whatever, which is fine until they
Mhm.
realize, what am I doing this for?
Yeah,
Why am I doing this?
yeah.
Oh, I need
Like
someone I love.
are you ready to thrive, not just survive, in your life, leadership, or career? At Thriver Lifestyle, we believe thriving isn't just about success. It's about alignment, vitality, and creating a lasting impact. For women leaders, our coaching programs are designed for high achieving, busy women who are ready to reclaim their power. If you're feeling burnt out or disconnected, we guide you to transform stress into flow and burnout into balance. Through somatic practices, breath work, and mindfulness, we empower you to lead with authenticity, confidence, and vitality. For corporations, Thriver Lifestyle helps forward thinking organizations cultivate thriving workplace cultures. We created customized wellness programs that foster employee well being, build resilience, and improve morale, unlocking the full potential of your team and company. Whether you're an individual ready to transform or an organization ready to evolve, Thriver Lifestyle is here to help you thrive. Visit thriverlifestyle.com today to learn more and schedule a consultation. Because thriving is more than just a goal, it's a way of life. You become the North Star. That family, that like their partner becomes a North Star. And since we got together, it's like he's quantum leap. Like I really believe that like I actually saw a TikTok on this, how people are asking like, what's the men's job in this like awakening? And in this, I'll share the TikTok with you because it's like ChatGPT answered it or AI was like, women rise first and they inspire the men to rise up.
Hmm.
He was never really spiritual. Like he's works kind of, I guess you could say like blue collar. He's still in the military, but with my energy, because I'm such a disruptor catalyst, now he's like, it's expanded him so much.
Yeah.
He's invested more than he's ever invested in business ventures, having all these ideas. He talks now about like intention. I got him into journaling. We meditate together. He never did this before, but like because of seeing me and my practices, it like inspired him to like rise up. And it's just been really beautiful to witness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because how many women are out there with our crystals and our journals and our oracle cards, right? For decades. And
Mhm.
we've been doing really important work this whole time.
Yeah.
Really important work.
I'd love to hear more, like, with your journey, like, how is it you're in this stage now, right? I guess you're moving into, like, the slowness. What's been coming up for you?
Yes, I'm definitely moving. It's so funny because like I really just decided I have like a ton of friends who are psychics and stuff. So we always have like constant discussions. My natural inclination is always to lean in and to fight for something and to build something. And if I want this, I'll just go get it. And
Mhm.
I'm getting like the exact opposite thing to do, which to be honest, it took me months to reconcile and to actually play it out. So like the way that I approach things it there's a disconnect between how the world is gonna be and what the world needs from me and how I want to live in the world, which is to live in, like, a really peaceful, easeful, magical way. There was a
Mhm.
disconnect from, like, how I'm doing things now, even though this is, like, the 5th iteration of Anna, working from her heart, all this stuff, right? So I'm like,
Yep.
"I'm not done yet." And, Source kept on pointing back to my relationship in my own household where,
Mm.
my husband and I were working things out. We have a 2-year-old that's we're like older parent is like very new for us. And so we're still trying to figure out dynamics at work. And I know for me, I have a tendency to pour everything into my business, which is why I've
Mm.
been successful in the past. And I can't do that now. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel balanced, right? Everyone suffers. There's more chaos. And now I'm being called to pour my energy into my home
Mm.
and because I was so
Mhm.
resistant to that, I think my higher self was like, "Anna, just do it because it'll actually benefit your business at the end." I was like, "Okay, I get it."
It really will, Since it's been, like, a year ago, moved here, really surrendered to that, I've been homemaking more, and it's something that I've always loved. I love to cook from scratch, garden, and in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, I need to, like, film." I've been a content creator for, like, over a decade. "I need to film this. I need to, like" and Source was just like, "No, just fucking live, like,
Just
get
live.
offline, just, like, really do this for the energy," and I struggled with it first, right? Because we're so taught to, like, "How do I monetize this?"
Yeah.
And so I let it go, and I didn't post. I just kinda, like, lived. I, like, actually lived, did the things I love, went on walks, still go on walks. Now I go on 1, 2-hour walks, and before I used to, like, feel guilty, right?
Yeah.
To do this, and I'm like, "What value?" And then when I really shifted, I was like, "The value I bring is priceless," like and he's told me, my partner's like, "I value when I come home, like, you love like, I eat so well, like, we eat well, like, the home is warm, like, your energy," like, it's helped him in so many ways, and I
Same.
I
Yeah.
think we've the system has devalued what happens in the home, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like this sense of entitlement, you're supposed to do it. Like,
Yeah.
instead of like, there's actually value in you being present as a mother, like, in your home. You're
Yes.
literally like,
So much value. The
yeah,
heart. You're the
yeah,
heart of the home. You are the value.
yes, and yeah, it took adjustment. It took adjustment, especially
Yeah.
when we're so used to, like, putting a monetary or something value into it, it's actually really priceless, and once that started really embodying that, I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Like,
Yeah. I love how you said Source said just fucking live. 'Cause that's the absolute and you can't fake it. You can't be like, "Okay, I'm gonna plan for something." You have to truly, like, live your life in and be present and be embodied and be
yeah,
in your life, lay
yeah,
hands in the dirt in your life.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't fake it.
Yeah. Source, my ancestors like, "Just fucking rest." Just they would I was like, "Okay." Like, no, really, like, like, let it go and just, like, be, enjoy, and I started just cooking more, dancing, like, really moving energy, and through that, like, a lot of stuff came up, a lot of stuff from my
Mm.
past that I was like, "I thought I healed this shit," but, like layers, right? As you said, it's like, "This is a 5th iteration." Like, I'm like, "I thought I was done, like, I thought I went deep already." And they're like,
Yeah.
"No, we gotta go deeper." And now I realize why is because, the work that I do is embody leadership coaching. And it's really like Goddess was like, "Yeah, you gotta embody it first before you teach it. Come on, like you gotta do it. You gotta go through it.
That's so
Like, how
true.
are you gonna lead someone there when you haven't been there yourself?" Like, I'm like, "Okay, okay." Like it was very humbling experience. But now that I'm past it, I'm like, "Okay, I know you were right. I needed it."
That's so funny because I'm at the phase now where I, like, finish one thing and I'm literally at the beginning of another thing, so It's like, you better you better exactly, live your life. You wanna
Mhm.
talk about feminine energy, if you really wanna be in goddess energy, you can't do all this stuff that you're doing with your business because it's just not for me, it's not the same level of commitment to that feminine energy, even though I'm like, "No,
Mhm.
but I wanna teach it." No, she's like, "You need to truly
Yeah.
embody." It's like, "You need to bake some sourdough bread, okay? You need to go do some and you wanna own some feminine energy." And I actually got and, like, almost makes like, hurts my soul a little bit to say this, but I actually got like, "No, Anna, you need to be offline for, like, almost a year."
I did that. It was a struggle. It
"I'm in the beginning of this, Marianne, I can't." I don't know I can do it. Tell me about your year. What were you, like, completely offline? Were you, like, doing little things in between? What was the year like?
Sometimes here and there. I mean, I used to be a content creation machine. I mean, that's what burnt me out, right? I had a YouTube channel, I had a podcast, I created on multiple platform, and yeah, like really the last year, it was like barely, maybe a story here and there. And even then, I felt like it was one of those like pushing it or like it was so random. Someone was probably like, that's random. There's just a picture of like eggs or like like it was so not it was definitely not business related. Nothing business related at
Yep.
all.
Yep, yep, yep.
And it's interesting, like, I barely post about my partner, but this is the best relationship I've ever been, like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just us living, and it was so cathartic. Now that I'm on this other side, let me tell you, what I tried to do for the past 1, 2, 3 years, forcing it, after I did this, I mean, I shared this with you, everything just clicked
Yeah,
and happened fast. So,
yeah.
like, we collapse time, but we have to really allow that to happen,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
we need the internal neurological, physical, energetic capacity to
Mhm.
hold those quantum shifts,
Yeah.
and that's why we're being called to either pull away or detox or, like, strain things up at home is because it changes our body, it changes
Mhm.
our vessel, it changes our structure
Yeah.
so that when that it's the right time, like, it just happens,
Yeah.
like, we need that.
In high I'm like, you're right," and so but I'm with you. I struggled. I, like, really had to remind myself, like, my key word was just surrender and trust. Surrender and trust, and I would do a lot of somatic movement. I was like, "Surrender and trust." Like, when things would come up, like, go back. Like, our body holds so much wisdom. When things feel like it needs to just be looked at, addressed, like, our body holds the key, and it was just keep going back to those practices.
Yeah, so y'all might not hear from me from after this podcast. Hannah will go
And
do.
then you will rise like a phoenix, like a motherfucking phoenix. Like seriously, you're gonna just quantum and that's what I'm feeling now, like having that and that's really honoring that. I'm so glad. But going through it, yeah. And I mean, who knows what the goddess has in store? She might be like, oh, you're not done yet. I might be speaking a little too soon, but I really feel like she's like, all right, you're ready. And it just things
Yeah.
happen really.
It is a different place of knowing because, like, I think as business women, we're so used to like planning from our head, right?
Mhm.
And this is a place of, I don't know if you can even call it planning, but it's really like being alive, embodying. And in my
Mhm.
mind, you said surrender. In my mind, for me, it's like I am heaven and earth. I'm building heaven and earth in my
Yeah.
home. I'm like that is like the mantra that the vibe I'm going for. I think it's just we have to be honest to the energy. We have to
Mhm.
be honest to what's calling us and what isn't working. And if we allow ourselves to not be in our heads as much, it really is the most beautiful thing. Like literally it's just fucking living and enjoying your life. Like how hard
Mhm.
what planet do we have to be convinced to just be able to like live our life and enjoy it versus like having to like
Yeah.
do this other stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. For the sake of living, right? Not
Yes.
to post it, not for external validation, not to monetize it, literally for the sake of just living. That was like a big lesson for me. And before that, I was like, I'm going to lose all my follower or like all that work for nothing, like all these limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And God was like, I'm a fucking guy. Like it'll happen, when
Yeah.
it's meant to. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just shows you how funny our human like, how small our human mind is in the way that things and then you have this, like, whole bigger plan that's unfolding, and
Mhm.
everything just happens so naturally. I think
Yeah.
that's, like it lines up, and so that flow, that lining up with the flow, back in the day, we're like, "Go with the flow," like, that really happens. So it's
Mhm.
like, are you allowing yourself to line up with it, or are you actively fighting it because our human brain's like, "Well, what about all the things that I did before? What about my vault of content? What about my
Yeah.
prices?" Yeah, old pricing is different now, everybody. Like, everybody knows, like, if you've been doing this for multiple years, pricing is different. People are paying for things differently. It's a different world. And so it's like,
Mhm.
how do you find a way to add so much value to what you're doing? Oh, you have to embody your work. Oh,
Yeah.
you have to actually be someone who's living a life that people want to emulate or be a part of, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, for real, and I think embodiment is really the key, and, like, being like I said, most of the time we're living in our heads, but we just, like, need to drop in to our bodies, like, it's a practice. It's literally like a moment to moment daily practice because we can get sidetracked by, I don't know, traffic, your kids, your whatever it is, but just, like, bringing that back.
Yeah, I've had to
Mhm.
process a lot of frustration recently with certain people in my life, and so I found myself just like raking the leaves, cussing people out, but then I felt better. But I was healing and moving that energy, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I, like, dance it off because like, things that are frustrating, I'm like, "Alright." I do, like, shamanic shaking, I dance it off, like, hit the pillow, I'm like, "I just gotta move that." Or, like, I'll cook, when you knead bread, you're, like, kneading it really hard. So there's ways to, like, really somatically move it because, yeah, like, there's a lot, and I think especially in the real world, right, where most people are still surviving and not as embodied and living in their heads, so that practice really is needed for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, and that disconnection is really important because, like, every time I go back into social media or even go back into, like, chatting with friends or whatever, it's like I get pulled back into the
Mhm,
collective. I get pulled back into the drama and, like, what Trump is doing and, like, all of these things, I get pulled back, and it's really important to have our personal space, our, like, safe
mhm.
space.
Yeah.
I definitely have a safe space I go to every night. Just like I'm sitting in bed, I'm like, like safe mental, psychic, emotional space where I just get
Mhm,
rejuvenated because otherwise, like it does feel like a war out there sometimes. It
mhm,
does feel like people are kind of untethered and it feels like not many people are grounded. And so I think it's so
mhm.
important for people who are doing this work to have a safe space. Like many of us are not friends with our bodies. We need to have a safe home to come home to in our bodies.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think that's such a the warring things outside because oftentimes internally we have an internal war, right? We have dissonance between our mind, our heart, our soul. But when we start going into resonance where we have that coherence, the heart mind coherence and all that, that's where that peace and unity. But most people are fighting themselves.
Absolutely, and that's what the masculine needs from us is the grounding, is the
Mhm.
so I have a little boy, he's 2, and I can tell, and I've been reading research on little boys, they're actually more sensitive than little girls.
Yeah.
They're more sensitive to emotion, they're more sensitive, they just can't deal with it, and so they need an adult presence and probably their mom or to help them, settle neurologically, and I'm like, "Wait, they never grow out of that as men." All these men have all of these stress neurological issues and they actually need a grounding feminine, like a
Mhm.
strong feminine presence, a loving feminine presence, so that they can settle their nervous system again. And
Yeah.
so, like, I think that's why the world is kind of crazy and at war. It's like the feminine presence has been just kicked aside and oppressed for so long that she's not able to be present for herself and also be present for, her family, her loved ones, whatever, like
Mhm.
something that makes us so happy. It brings a lot of balance. It's what the world needs right now, or like this conversation that we're having about,
Yeah.
I need to make sourdough bread. I need to go, play in the dirt. I need to go be in nature, 2-hour walks. Like that's actually what the world needs. And
Mhm.
we need to give it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And then people will be happy and thankful, maybe, that we do.
Yeah, because when we do have a regulated nervous system, our frequency changes and we emit that, right, into the world. Instead of dysregulated and disconnected, we're actually grounded literally to the earth, the planet, the like everything. And from that space, we're like vibrating and like
Yeah.
we energetically can positively influence the people around us. It's interesting what you said about, like, the wars outside because my partner, he told me before, he's like, "One of my favorite things is, like, coming home because I have these, like, battles or these things, like, with work and all the shit going on and all these things." He's like, "I love when I come home." He just like, "I feel so much peace." And, you are like, you bring that peace, that,
Yeah.
like, groundedness, and
Yeah.
that's invaluable. That's
Oh,
priceless.
yeah. And all the women who are listening, this is what your man, like your partner is able to articulate that. A lot of men can't, like my husband, right?
Mhm.
But then I was able to have it translated through our therapist. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, this is all you needed this whole time?" I was like stressing myself out to like do all of these other things when you just needed someone who was like happy.
Yeah.
Like something as simple as that. Like that's my natural state. If you didn't stress me out with all this other stuff, right? But that's like that's the value of the feminine energy. And I think we take it for granted because
Yeah.
like when I'm alone, I'm just vibing off myself.
Mhm.
That's what the world needs from us. That's what our partners need from us. That's what our loved ones need from us.
Mhm.
But when you have it, when you have your cup full, it doesn't feel like you're giving, it just feels like, yeah, everyone can have some of this because it's literally an overabundance of love and
Yeah.
joy and
Yeah.
magic and good
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, it's from a place of overflow instead of scarcity.
Yeah, the overflow is key. I
Mhm.
definitely can feel when I plug into the collective, my overflow becoming not overflow. So I've been
Mhm.
really looking at areas of my life where energetically it's not regenerating, it's not regenerative, where it's just giving
Mhm.
away. I've had to look at a lot of relationships where it was just taking too much or I was just over giving, right? In an
Yeah.
unhealthy way.
Mhm.
Have to balance that out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love like this theme, like you talk about like going back to home. I think that's key. Like your home, your family unit, and also your home in your body. It's like
Absolutely.
coming back to home. And it's actually one of the things I have like in my program, like a journey back home to like yourself,
Mm.
to your sacredness. And I think that's like what the world needs because when we do heal ourselves and come back home to ourselves, it creates that ripple effect outwardly.
It does, and when you go deep enough into your body, like, you find this opening where it really is God energy,
Yeah.
like, within
Yeah.
your body. You're like, "Have
Mhm.
you been here this whole time?" And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's where your insights come from. That's where if you wanna manifest, that's where it comes from. That's like your portal, from, like, the ethers into this 3D reality. If you really take seriously what Marianne said and take to, like, come home to your body, you find amazing things in there. There are amazing connections and they're like mystical things that are part of you.
Yeah, especially women, like, our womb space is literally the void. That is the portal from spiritual to physical, like, you have an inner like, that void, like you said before, like, that fertile ground, that darkness is
Yeah.
actually where the seed of everything gets created, right? So, like, we have that power, and I think a lot of women have forgotten that, and it's really this rebirth, this reclamation, this remembrance of our own inner power.
Yeah, 'cause to me, it feels like we also need to nurture ourselves in our own womb. It's like, are we
Mhm.
doing a good job of that for ourselves? Like, if we're in
Mhm.
our womb, are we feeding us, nurturing us? And for a lot of women, I know for me, it's like it feels like a constant process. Layers, like you said, like layers of healing, layers and layers of healing, shame and blame and guilt and just overexhaustion. I think for a lot of women now, you have an invitation. I'm getting a sense that a lot of women are having an invitation, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of whatever your financial situation is, like you always have the ability, if you step into the healing, more space will be given to you, more
Mhm.
opportunities will be given to you. Like, regardless of wherever you are financially, if you choose to step into your own healing and nurturing and
Mhm.
valuing yourself, like your world will reflect that so much.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of us are being called to that space.
yeah, and, like, literally miracles and magic, like, it won't make sense how things will rearrange, but it will just continue on that path, and one of the things that's helped me is, like, cycle syncing. So, I've been doing cycle syncing for, I don't know, for a while, like, for a few years, but, like, deepening that practice of really cycle syncing, right? To just our internal cycles, and it's been such a gift. It's been to, like, okay, honoring that part and then doing this on this part. I'm like, this is how they used to like thousands and thousands of years ago. Like even
So
indigenous peoples, still do that. Like they follow it. And like, how did we not do this?
so does that mean that you plan certain times where you're more able to rest and certain times when maybe you do your launches and stuff, or how do you cycle sync?
Yeah. So for example, before I used to like whatever it is, I push through it. Right. But now I create content during my ovulation follicular because it just flows through me and I can do like record 8 or do all these things. And when I'm in my luteal, when an idea comes to me, I'll like have it in notes, but I won't do it because sometimes it's like forcing it. So I have a lot more grace with myself and I give myself a lot of rest. I listen to my body when I'm in that like luteal. And then when I'm ready, when I'm back in that cycle, literally like I can collapse like a month's worth of work sometime into like the week and a half too,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I allowed myself that time to rest. And it was definitely choppy at first. And there's still times where I have to like remind myself, but it's it's like, oh, okay, this works because you're just utilizing that flow of energy.
Yeah, you remind me I need to do that because I remember like there are certain times when I'm really creative and certain times when I'm really pissy and really tired. And it's like I need to record those times to actually prepare.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and energetically, that'll reflect in the content. Like, if you created from a space of like, "Oh, I gotta do this," and it's forced, it'll have that energy. I realize when I create from a place of like, I'm just really flowing, like riffing, it just moves so much faster.
Work
So
smarter, you know?
yeah, work smarter, not harder. We're so magical. Like, why are we fighting it?
Yeah, absolutely. Those energy waves are really powerful.
Mhm. Yeah, and just writing it, like you said, writing the waves. It'll take you much further, like, when you're I think of, like, the sea, right? If you're fighting against, like, the currents, you're just, like, fighting it, but if you go with the flow, it'll take you out so much further.
Absolutely. Yeah, those
Mhm.
cycles and then those like bigger cycles of different life changes. And I think a lot of people are actually experiencing a time where they're due for an image, a brand, a career pivot
Yeah.
or refresh. Because you don't
Mhm.
want to be doing the same thing, like for decades and decades and decades. But at the same time, it's terrifying.
Mhm.
It might be part of your cycle now that you completely rebrand or you have something new to say or you're in a different phase of your life. You
Mhm.
mentioned NDE, and my understanding of an NDE is you're actually given like a new destiny almost. Like that date is like a new birth date for you. And like I've heard of people experiencing incredible like changes in their body, healing and stuff because they kind of reset their system.
Yeah, I definitely felt like there was a timeline where, like, I quantum leaped, where a version of me did die, and then I jumped into this one where I decided to, like, live, and yeah, completely different.
Wow. Yeah, I just had to live and then find the partner of my dreams and to have like the coolest business and podcast. And that's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, it was fucking scary, right? Because after that NDE, I got the download to literally leave my life in LA and buy a one-way ticket and move to Miami. I had no plan, no fret, nothing, barely any money. I literally couch surfed for like, I think 2 weeks from the couch of this guy that I met at Ultra like a year before because he went to school there and I was looking for a place to live. But then everything just happened. Like I did that and then I found a place to live. I had like all these things started supporting me and I just people thought I was crazy. When I look in I think in hindsight it definitely was. Like it was not a logical smart thing to do, but I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be logical, I do like compared to dating, right? Because like there are people that you date and they check off every box and they're like 6'5", whatever they have, like whatever they went to this school, but you don't feel that like that fire. You don't feel that like
That
that
was my
passion.
ex-husband. My ex-husband literally checked off all the I have so much love for him, like, I sent him so much love, we had a conscious uncoupling, but, like, he checked off literally all the boxes, it was the right timing for me, in my mind, I was like, "Okay, find a guy, get married at this age, have a kid," like, I it was linear, right?
Yes.
Like, dip, 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 dip,
Yes.
dip, check off all the boxes, but just deep down, there was that fire was missing, and we ended up, getting divorced, but, I mean, I feel like that had to happen in order for me to appreciate my partner now, which is, and he's also divorced, so I think you learn.
Yeah.
No yeah.
You really appreciate who you have after you learned. Yeah, and that's so many people I think we're being removed from living a linear life.
Yeah.
And I think secretly our soul is like, yes, because it was
Mhm.
so boring and just so full of obligations and all of this stuff. And so now we're being called to lead more of like a heart led, soul led life, which is less linear, less logical, right? But
Mhm.
definitely way more in the flow, way
Yeah.
more fulfilling.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I could talk to you for a long time just about all these things.
Same.
But, like, what do you wanna share with people who want to I mean, I don't know about now, you might take, like, a whole year sabbatical, but if they wanted to binge on all your stuff or, like, reach out to you, how can they, connect with you or look at your
Yes.
stuff?
I highly suggest you join the Midnight Train, which is my free video newsletter.
Mhm.
So I record those. Right now it's like every other week or some along those lines. And it's the Midnight Train because I usually have my best, most unhinged thoughts in the middle of the night when my kid's sleeping. And so I'll just do a little video and send it out. That's the best way to keep in touch with me. You can find that link in the bio or in the notes.
Yeah.
I am on TikTok and Instagram, but TikTok, I don't know how much longer because I'm getting videos like taken down and stuff. And so
Mhm.
join the midnight train. That's definitely where I'll be.
Yeah, I love that, and yeah, we'll have all those notes in the show notes. What would you share to someone right now who's going through this, like, you have to get embodied, you have to, like, really have this life change? What would you share with them? Is that you're also going through something similar, like
Yeah. You know what you need to do. You know what has not felt right. And this is your 10th message. So I'm sure Source is sending you many other messages to say, go for it. You'll be taken care of. Have no expectations. Things are going to slow down a lot for you. You might see a dip in income. You might see a dip in whatever, but that's not permanent. That's actually going to help you accelerate in ways that you never thought possible. But your
Mhm,
system needs to be reset. You need to learn how to really master and enjoy and find embodiment in your human and in your
mhm,
human relationships and in your human sensory experience. And so I'm getting a sense that some people might have issues with food and eating, and they might feel unsafe in their environment. And this is the perfect time for you to be gentle with yourself and
mhm,
find safety and healing within your own being because the world is going to shake up a lot of people. And when you connect to your inner feminine energy, you're going to
mhm,
be able to access a level of magic. Like literally, we talked about it's not about finances, right? So maybe you only have beans and tuna to eat, but it's like you loving that you have beans and tuna and creating some magic meal from that, and the magic is part of the experience, and then your friends and family, whoever comes to dinner is like, "Whoa, beans and tuna," but it's, like, presented so lovingly and beautifully, and so you create so much abundance from, like, this little thing. That
mhm.
magic is going to be so powerful for you. So
Yeah.
now the goddess, the universe is helping you cultivate your magic. It might not seem on the surface like it's so awesome, but it actually really is if you lean into it. So lean into
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. So if whoever's listening, if you are asking for a sign, you literally this was your sign
This is it.
channeled through Anna.
Do it. Do it.
Sisters, are you ready to reclaim your wild, sacred feminine power? Join us for Savage Feminine Reclamation, an intimate, luxurious, and transformative retreat happening September 22 to 27, 2025 in Tulum, Mexico. This isn't just a retreat. It's a sacred 5-day journey into the heart of your divine feminine essence. Through powerful embodiment practices, rituals, and deep connections with nature, you'll shed old layers, awaken your inner goddess, and step into your fullest power, while also enjoying time to explore Tulum's famous cenotes and white sand beaches. Space is extremely limited to ensure a deeply personalized and transformative experience. Don't wait, there's only 10 spots available. Secure your spot now and give yourself the reclamation your soul has been craving. Visit thriverlifestyle.com to learn more and reserve your place today. This is your time. Answer your soul's call to reclaim your savage feminine power.
I love it. And a question that I love to ask every guest that I interview is in your own definition, in your own view, who is someone that lives a thriver lifestyle? What does that mean to you?
Oh, someone who lives a thriver lifestyle. Thriver lifestyle to me is someone who's always like giving back to the world, even if it's just like their energy or their teachings. And the person that's coming up for me really is Byron Katie. Do you know Byron Katie?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
She does the work. And I think she's really like a truly embodied, enlightened master. And
Mhm.
she gives away so much of her stuff for free. And it's like she moves through the world just like she literally says, like, if someone pointed a gun at me, I would just look at the gun and be like, huh. And I would examine my thoughts that would make this a problem, someone pointing a gun at me. And at first I was like, this woman is crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is life. Everything we could see that as a problem, or we could just see it as life. And she's so surrendered to the
Mhm.
beauty of life. She's so surrendered that everything is beautiful and everything is just an expression, that even if someone were to point a gun at her, she'd be like, oh, she actually said like, oh, maybe today's my day to die. And
Mhm.
be so okay with that. Like for me, I feel like her energy, even though I've never met her in person, I've
Yeah.
read her books and stuff and watched her YouTube, she has this profound domino effect on me and so many people. And that's thriving. And she's really living her authentic experience.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And her worksheets are free. There's a lot of free worksheets to like move through that process. I forgot the name of it.
The
What
work.
is it? The work, yeah. Like when you actually do it and like fill it out and like go deeper, and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, maybe we'll put a link to that too in the show
Yeah.
notes. Yeah, beautiful. Yay! Thank you so much, Anna, for being on the podcast. And it was
That make me, this is so magical.
yeah, I love this. I feel like we can keep talking.
I know, share recipes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to stay inspired with new conversations each week. Your support means the world. Please share this episode with your community, whether it's your team at work or closest friends. Together, we can spread the message of embodied leadership, holistic wellness, and thriving as a collective. Follow me on social media for more insights and behind-the-scenes content. And if something resonated with you today, please leave a podcast review. It helps us get our message to even more people all around the world. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are divine, and you are meant to thrive. See you in the next episode.